and I'm a trainer for the Positive Coaching Alliance, a nonprofit. And I'd like to congratulate you guys for taking the steps to become a double goal coach. It's something that's very, very powerful. As it says right on the cover of the book that you guys have, this is your Bible. But it's a very powerful thing. As coaches, you're able to influence young people, not only for a season, but for the rest of their lives. And that's something that I love about coaching. I'm just like you. I've been coaching for about 20 years. I took a short break, and now I'm back coaching again. So I'm in season, and I'm trying to include a lot of the Positive Coaching Alliance double goal coaching tips. And so far, it's been really great. I was a college athlete also. I played 2 sports in college, basketball and softball, and I've been coaching those 2 sports for the majority of my career at all levels, from youth all the way up to college. And at all levels, there's challenges. So how do we keep that positive? This is what we're going to talk about today and make it a good experience for your players. This is my assistant coach here. This is Sour Johnny. And what we're going to do today, Sour Johnny is nice and soft. We're going to do a lot of sharing today, so we're going to toss Sour Johnny around the room. When it's your turn to talk, goes over to you. You can catch it, keep everybody on their toes, a little active. Sour Johnny, you know, he's a negative goal coach, so that's why his face is that way. So, you know, try to give him some positivity today. So I'd like to hear a little bit from you guys just to see who we have in the room. We're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. If you could, tell me your name, how long you've been coaching in the sport you're currently coaching in, and what that sport is. So I'll go first, and I'm currently coaching girls basketball, high school varsity, and I've been coaching high school varsity for 5 seasons. Let's go ahead and start over here with you, Kelly. I'm going to toss you Sour Johnny.
Thanks. I am Kelly Kratz. I'm currently coaching U12 lacrosse, and I have been coaching that for about 7 years.
Okay, great. Go ahead and toss Sour Johnny to the person right next to you.
All right, thanks. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm actually not currently coaching, but I plan to in the near future. I have a 5-year-old son who plays soccer.
Okay. Great, thanks, Courtney. Go ahead and toss Sour Johnny back to me. Great, so we have a nice small group today, which means we can do a lot of sharing. And now what I'd like for you guys to do is we're going to put ourselves in order of coaching, total coaching experience. So not years coaching, whatever we're coaching right now this season or this year, but total years coaching. So I've been coaching for about 20 years, so I'm going to stand here. And if you guys can go ahead and just stand up, work your way around the room, and see where you fall, whether it's 0 years of coaching experience to maybe 50 years. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. Great job, great job, great job. So now that we see ourselves all lined up, we see that we have a variety of coaching years experience. But we're all here at this same double goal coach workshop. And the reason being is that whether we're coaching for 0 years and it's our first year as a coach, or we've been coaching for 20 years, we can benefit from learning how to become a double goal coach with the Positive Coaching Alliance. Today's workshop is not really about X's and O's. It's about how do we change a culture and create a more positive experience to build not just better athletes, but better people. And we can have that influence, which is really cool. So today, what we're going to start with is honoring the game. That's the first principle of double goal coaching that we're going to talk about today. And I want you guys to think about for a second those words, honoring the game. What comes to mind when you hear those 3 words? Courtney, you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, honor seems like kind of like a sacred thing. It seems like an important thing. And, you know, the game as a whole, it sounds like something, it's just like taking care of something big. You know, it's not about me. It's not about someone else. It's about the whole thing.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. It's not about me. It's not about myself. It's about something as a whole. Absolutely. That's a great point. And honoring the game, I agree. It's kind of a sacred word. Okay, it's almost like you have a responsibility to honor the game. So as you guys think about those three words a little bit more, I'm going to show you a little video to start us off today. Anyone familiar with this picture up here? Kelly?
Yep.
What is it? What do you know about it?
I don't know all the details, but I remember it happened a few years back where a softball player, I don't know, twisted her ankle or something, and the opposing players carried her around the bases so that she could earn her home run point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's kind of the idea of it. Okay? And for those of you who haven't seen it, we're going to play it so you can all really see what exactly happened with this video. Keeping in mind honoring the game.
In a small town in the middle of Washington State, on a field inside a chain-link fence, in a game fewer than 100 people saw. A home run memorable not for the distance it traveled, or the game it decided, but for the meaning it carried. As a senior, this was Sarah Tucholsky's last chance to win a championship. She'd never hit a home run before, not in college, not in her life. The top of the second inning with 2 runners on the second pitch, that changed.
So I'm going to let you guys know what happened here, in case you can't see it. Sarah hit a home run, but as she rounded first base, she tore her ACL, and she couldn't go any further. The umpire said that her teammates could not assist her, and if she had a pinch runner, her homer would become a single. Let's see what happened.
That's when Central Washington's Mallory Coleman, a player with more home runs than any other in conference history, a player to the opposing team, spoke up.
I went to the home plate umpire and asked if we could pick up the carrier, and he looked at me a little strange. And she says, you hit the ball with the fence, you deserve it.
For that reason only, because she deserved it, Coleman and Wallace began to carry the injured Tucholsky, stopping to touch her left foot on each base as the three made their way around the diamond.
That's the first time we're going to see the commemorate Sarah Tucholsky.
Wow. That's pretty impressive to me. What do you guys think about that video?
Surprising.
Surprising? Why do you say that?
I just think a lot of players, when I coached high school, they were really in it for the win, and they would have just looked at that as an unfortunate occurrence. They would have felt bad for it, but I don't know if they would have stepped up and done that.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. What about you, Courtney?
Yeah, it just makes me think, like, how can I as a parent, what can I do with my child or when I'm coaching, with the other kids on the team to have that be their gut reaction? When something like that happens, the coach isn't right there to say, hey, go grab her, but that's the way that kid reacted. So what can you do to have them have that sense of competitiveness where they're going to, help out the other team?
Right, right. Yeah, you think that what she did was pretty difficult, probably, the other team. And just to have that come to mind and offer it as a suggestion really reaches out to me. At PCA, we think that video is a really good example of honoring the game, okay? And how we view honoring the game is sportsmanship taken even to a higher level, like you see here with Mallory. If Mallory was my player, I feel like I would be very, very proud of her. So how do we get our players to think like that? Courtney made a good point. How do we get our players to think like that? And at PCA, we use an acronym called ROOTS to help teach honoring the game and to help live honoring the game each day. And ROOTS is a really good acronym because as you guys look at this tree, and you see the word roots and you're looking at the picture, what comes to mind in the value of roots for the tree? Anything for you, Kelly?
I just think that you have to have strong roots for a tree to suck up all the nutrients and the water out of the soil, or a tree's not going to stand if it has weak roots.
Right. The tree is not going to stand. It's going to fall down. It's going to die without the roots. Okay. So we kind of have to, create this foundation to honor the game, or else, we won't have those players who can think of something like Mallory did. Right. So the roots is something that's easy to remember. Okay. And at PCA, we break it up into the 5 elements, and the first R stands for something. Any guesses on what it stands for?
I'm going to say rules.
Good, very good guess. Nice job. Sour Johnny likes that. Okay, so the first one is rules. So when we talk about the roots and honoring the game using the roots, we want to have respect for these 5 things. And the first one is rules. We want to respect the rules. Why are the rules important?
Keep you safe.
Yeah, keep you safe.
Make
Absolutely.
it fair. Keep it fair.
Yeah. Keep it as fair as possible. Definitely. So we have to, first of all, we have to model for our players honoring the game by abiding by the rules. Now, we all know sometimes you can get away with bending the rules or maybe breaking a rule or two. For example, I coach basketball, and I've had players who they hang on to jerseys sometimes, and technically that's against the rules. It's a foul, okay? Does it help them sometimes stay with their player? Yeah, absolutely. But it's against the rules, and it's frustrating for the other team. So I never let my players hold jerseys, even though sometimes the other team is pulling jerseys. What about you guys? Kelly, you're coaching right now. Have you experienced any, opportunities where you could break the rules?
I have young girls in lacrosse, and they cover the ball a lot with the back of their stick when they're trying to pick it up, or they'll do they'll pull it back and try to get it in their stick, and they'll do it in a big mash crowd of girls. I call it the beehive, where you can't even see what's going on, and they'll be covering left and right, and it's just something they get away with a lot, and it doesn't get called. So we always bring that up as, yeah, it's effective, it works, it puts the ball in your stick better, but it's against the rules.
Right. And so without you as a coach letting them know that you're not okay with them bending the rules, it sets an example, and that helps model honoring the game. Our first O in honoring the game is opponents, okay? Now you may think, your opponents, why would that be important? Aren't you trying to focus on your own team? But it is, okay? We have to respect our opponents, because without our opponents, there's no what?
No game.
There's no game, okay? So that's really the first and easiest way to understand why it's important to respect your opponents, because you need them. You need them to play the game. You need them to show up so you can play the game that you've been practicing for, the game that you love. At PCA, we like to remind coaches that they can teach competitiveness, but teach your athletes to be competitive in a fierce but friendly way. Okay, so they're going out there to compete as hard as they can, with keeping in mind honoring the game and respecting the opponent. So, staying friendly with them before and even after the game, because you need them. The next O in honoring the game is probably the toughest one. For me, I know this is the toughest one, is respect for the officials. In basketball, the officials can really kind of change how the game is going, okay? So it's tough sometimes to really keep in mind, honoring and respecting the officials. Courtney, have you ever had a situation where the officials, it was very hard to model respect for the officials?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think as a parent, as a coach, as a player, everybody has ample opportunity to disrespect the officials, and it's such a visible thing, no matter what sport you're playing. So I just think, to model that as parents or as coaches is just equally important for kids. And I was just at another PCA workshop for athletes, for middle schoolers, and the trainer asked, which one of these is the hardest for you? This is middle schoolers, and they said officials, and they'll sit next to the AD, and the AD said, wow, like these are middle schoolers, and like the officials are the hardest part for them. So I think it's one of the biggest ones.
Right. How about you, Kelly? Do you have any examples of where it was difficult to honor the officials?
Yeah, I just think, a lot of the officials' calls, if it's not a clear-cut rule, it's a subjective call, and especially at the younger age. When I was coaching at the high school level, it was more clear, cut and dry. But now that I'm coaching at the younger level, the officials are teenagers, so it's hard to get upset with them. But sometimes they're calling calls that are just they don't really know the rules very well, but they're there trying to make the game fair, and I'm sitting there trying to bite my tongue because they're calling calls left and right that aren't even real calls. And so I'm trying to model respect for the official, whereas at the same time trying to teach these young officials that the call they made is just wrong. So it's hard.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but just like the opponents, we need the officials. We need them, or else we can't have a game. We may have a game of high chaos with no officials, but sometimes it helps to remember that they're people just like us. Okay, which means, like Kelly said, it's subjective, and sometimes officials make mistakes, just like everyone else. And as a coach, just keeping that in perspective and reminding yourself, honoring the game, remembering the roots, trying to model, patience, I think, with officials is difficult. But if you try to just remember that, they're people too, and they're doing the best they can, and their job is hard. Okay, I always said that I would never want to be an official, never, as a coach and as an athlete, because no matter what you call as an official, half the people there are upset with you, all right, because it's going to go against one team. And what I've done this is my main goal this season, is to try to show more respect for officials. I think officials really get to me, and I don't always show it, but I have showed it in the past. And we had a scrimmage the other day on Saturday, and what I did was, before the scrimmage, I made it a point to go ask the officials a question to demonstrate that we respect what they do and we want to abide by the rules. And I wanted to know if one of them could come to our school and go over the emphasis this year so we can make sure we follow the rules. And they were really surprised that I asked that question. I caught them off guard a little bit. But they were happy about it. And then I did something that I've never done ever, is after the scrimmage, and it was a multi-scrimmage, so we played 2 scrimmages really, I went up and I shook all their hands, and I thanked them for coming, and they were really caught off guard by that. I think they thought I might say something negative, or they were even surprised I was acknowledging them after our team had just played, and you're always caught up as a coach, and how much we have to work on, which I know my team has to work on a lot right now. But they really appreciated it, and I shook their hands and said thank you, and they thanked me back, and I think that really meant a lot to them, and it was just a small thing, and all I had to do as a coach was just remember to do it. And I know that my players saw me do that, and hopefully that they can remember that, and I'll try to continue to do so in the future. So the T in the roots, honoring the game, is, any guesses? What does the T stand for? Team? Yeah, very close. Teammates. Oh. All right, so respect for our teammates. Once we become part of a team, it's really important for us to teach our players how to respect each other. Okay, once you make the team, you basically, now represent each other on and off the court or off the field. And so it's really important to remember to respect your teammates and everything that you do so you don't embarrass them, okay? And then the last letter here we have in the roots honoring the game is self, respect for self. And now this is something that really may be number one, because without respect for self, it may be difficult to respect all these other things that we have here in honoring the game. And usually if you set some standards for yourself, and if you teach your players to set standards for themselves, They can continually remind themselves to keep to their high standards, even when people around them may not be. And that's probably the toughest things for athletes, and sometimes for coaches too, because you may see another coach who is deciding that they're going to pull shirts or they're going to disrespect the official, and maybe they're winning the game. That's a challenge for us as coaches to remember that we can model honoring the game.
All right. Thank you. Did you have anything to wrap it up? I don't want to cut you off.
I'll just say the last thing is that, Courtney, you brought up a good point right away.
Sorry.
In that, that's okay. In that, how do we teach that? How do we get players to, to think like Mallory did? And it starts right here with the culture that we create. Okay, we're in charge of creating the culture for our team, and at PCA we define culture as the way we do things here. And as a coach, if we don't create the culture, it'll get created on its own, and we may not like that. I can stop there.
All right, thank you. Well done, well done.
Thanks.
All right. How'd you feel going through that one?
Not too bad. I with the roots, I wanted to actually at the end, kind of divide, let people go to, like you kind of do, Kelly, let them choose something that they've struggled with as a coach in, respecting whether it's the officials or the rules, and kind of go with somebody new and share where they've struggled with it, or maybe a team member that they coached struggled with, honoring the game and respect, and then share that with the group. That's something that I would like to do, just to get a little bit more interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought I have a couple comments too. Sorry, my daughter just got home. My kids have a half day today and they're home already, which is crazy. Yeah, I think that's a great. The one comment that I put was I'd love to see more interaction. Just right off the bat, I'll go first, and then Courtney and Lorena, if you want to add anything in. I just think you are so smooth. That's the only way I can describe it. You're just very smooth and you're very relaxed, and your choice of words is excellent. Like you hit in the first 4 minutes, you hit, congratulating them for being there. You talked about how powerful it is. You talked about the book being the Bible. You talked about, we're trying to change a culture. It's not just X's and O's. Better athletes, better people. You even put that in. So all the words that we would want you to put in there, you did in the first 4 minutes. And you're just very relaxed and very easy to listen to. And I think just your choice of how you explain things, it's very clear. I mean, there's not an in the place. You're very, very smooth and very polished. And I think that's a great asset that you have. When you were talking about interaction, that was the one thing that I did put. I would like to see a little bit more, because roots and honoring the game is at the end of the workshop. It's a long time for them to be sitting.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do the activity that you were talking about having them get up and kind of go to a group and decide which one of ROOTS that is most challenging for them, I would cut down your explanation like in half. I mean, really, you actually don't even have, you can just kind of explain what it is, rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self, have them go. And then as you're kind of unpacking it with the group sharing, that's when you can add in your own little 2 cents, like your own little stories about it. But I would definitely, cut that part down in favor of going to a more interactive way of explaining it. My only other suggestion would be when you have them up in the beginning, and they're standing up according to how many years they've been coaching. I love that. That's something I do, and it's a great example. It's a great way for them to see. But while they're there, make it valuable in that, like, what can you do with them? Now you know in the room who's the most experienced and who's the least experienced. Rather than just using it as a visual, it's a great discussion starter. What are some of the things that the more experienced coaches, if you could go back to your first year of coaching, what would you have done differently? Or have them merge as a line. Somebody with a lot of experience match with somebody with no experience, and give them a nugget. Tell them something that you've learned from all your years of coaching. And rookie coaches, new coaches, what are you most anxious about? What are you most nervous about? So once you get people up, it's just a great way to have them into a discussion, to get them starting in discussion. The only other suggestion I would have is just to vary the pace of your voice, because your voice is so smooth and so polished. possibly add like some higher energy at some point, or go a little, just varying the cadence of your voice and the pace of your voice sometimes keeps people a little bit more on their toes. But I think you did a fantastic job.
I think it's easier for me to do that, like when I'm standing up.
Absolutely.
It's kind of odd to be sitting.
I got it. I understand. Yeah. We've had people do these standing up too. They put their laptop in the corner of a room and they're standing up on the other side of the room. So I understand. I do it every week. Believe me, I know how hard it is.
Okay.
Courtney, do you have some feedback for Becky?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of ours overlap, which I always feel like I can see a feedback here. But I loved how you used powerful at the beginning. Anytime in PCA where we can use strong words to talk about what we're doing, I feel like that's a real value add. So to do that in the beginning, I wrote down comfortable, like you're extremely comfortable, you clearly know the material, good use of personal stories. I agree with Kelly that getting them talking first and then using your content to expand upon what they're saying or relate it to something else is a good way to plug that in. But, it gives you even more credibility when you have good nuggets to share with them. So I think you did good doing that. You did well doing that. Sour Johnny, good. Like him. Let's see. I had to switch up the energy and the tone, so just like what Kelly was saying, we just had that. In the very beginning, in your introduction, you mentioned, I think, 20 years of coaching. If you have a nugget or two that you could pull out about why is PCA important to you? Because was there like something specific, or like when you think about your legacy or something, that really hits you, or something recent that happened with your team, anything that can kind of break it down to something more specific, I think would be helpful. Let's see. A big thing for me with Roots too, which I didn't hear you mention this one specific point, a big thing with me is that there can be so much wasted energy for an athlete or a coach or a parent when you disrespect officials, when you disrespect opponents. So much wasted energy, like focusing on the negative. And back to the whole thing, my dog agrees, back to the whole thing, the elm of what you can control, but tying that back into Roots then, like you can't control the opponents, you can't control the officials, so don't waste time on it. Not only is it's sort of like there's this philosophical thing about like don't do it because it's just the right thing to do to be nice to them, and then there's also this practical element of like, and you're wasting your energy when you could be focused on other things.
Okay.
And I thought it was neat. Tex Ostvig in Minnesota, when he did his final, he brought up a really good point. He said the opponent wants nothing more than for you to disrespect them, because that means they're getting under your skin. Yeah, so if you can honor the game and keep your composure and be respected, it shows your opponent that they have not ruffled your feathers at all. And he's a wrestling coach, so he said a lot of times it's really mental and it's one-on-one. And I thought that was a really good point to bring up. That you show disrespect, the other team's like, great, I got him just where I want him.
Right. Yeah.
And I think you're gonna have coaches in the audience who are, sort of the idealistic, I want to focus on Roots with my players because it's the right thing to do. And then I think you're gonna have coaches who are like, yeah, that's right, like my players are wasting energy. Like that's a better reason to focus on Roots for me. It's like, so giving them different reasons to think about it, I think, is helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. But I thought you did great.
Thanks.
All right, nice job. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. We're excited. I think I personally feel like I feel completely confident with you getting out there in front of a live audience to present one of the principles to start off. So we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about what's kind of in your area. And Courtney or Monique, I'll talk to them to find out if there are workshops coming up more in the Richmond area. I know that there's a big contract with Virginia. I'm not sure exactly if I know there's some coming up in Richmond, but we'll let you know. And we'll talk about how far you're willing to travel to go to, DC area or things like that too. So.
Okay. Yeah, if I can do it, I'll travel a little bit if need be.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks.
I have your email address too, and I'll shoot you Monique's contact information in terms of passing along any leads or names of organizations that you think are interested in partnering with PCA.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, Becky, you guys are welcome to hang on. I know, Courtney, you have to go. I appreciate it, but Lorena's going to go next. So, Beck, if you have to go, I understand. But if you'd like to hang on, you're welcome to.
Okay. Thanks, yeah, I can. Thanks, Courtney. I can stay a little bit.
Okay. Great. Hola, Lorena. How are you?
Hola. Fine, thank you.
Good. I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Ruben cannot join us today. So, can I make you do this in English?
Yes, sure, definitely.
Good. I knew you would.
Thank you. And if I get confused, please give me patience. Give me some patience, okay?
Well, you have all of my patience, believe me.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you just doing this in English, but I'm excited. I think it's neat that you can do it just as energetically and excited in English as you can in Spanish, which I think is great.
Thank you. And I was listening to Becky. She's also like tied up in her seat, and I'm also like, oh, how can I do this without moving? But anyway, I'm gonna make it.
You can move all you want. As I said, some people have stood up, and the only thing that I ask is that you stand and walk. I had somebody walking back and forth at one time, and I said, just kind of stay within the screen so we can sort of see you.
Okay, no, I'm okay in sitting here. Okay, well, my name is Lorena. Thank you for being here with me today. Through this course, we've been studying some points that PCA has, very important points, which is our coaching legacy. Which is your coach legacy? We saw the importance of being the importance with our athletes. What do you want to teach them? What do you want to be in the next future as a coach? And what is your athletes? What is the message your athletes got with you as a coach? Okay. Then we saw this. We talk about the double goal coach. The importance of this, the competition. We have this for this side, the competition, and the other side we have the forming. I don't know the word in English. Is formation. The formation of the athletes. Okay, so we can build athletes. We build athletes, not only athletes. We build human beings. And this is the importance of a double goal coach. So the next, the next subject, it was the elm, the elm tree, the importance of effort, the learning process, and the mistakes. We talked about. Do you remember what is the effort? What the importance of the effort? Do you remember, Kelly? What is the importance of effort?
I think that they are in control of their effort. It doesn't have to do with anybody else. I can control how hard I work.
Yes, sure, definitely. And Becky, can you remember what the L stands for? I'm sorry, I said that it's learning, but can you tell me who we learn from, Becky?
We can learn from each other, from our coach, by listening to our coach, being coachable.
Yes, definitely. But there's something that we is very important. We learn from, and we learn from our what? Our
mistakes.
Exactly. We learn from our mistakes, and it makes us better as a better athletes and a better people. Because we use this not as something that is not. I don't want to make mistakes. Of course, we don't want to make mistakes, but if we don't learn if we don't learn from them, from where we are going to learn else, from where else? So it's good to make mistakes because you can learn how to make a change, how to make this change. Okay, and so if you guys make mistakes, don't feel bad. You have a great opportunity to make changes in not only in your game but in your life too. Okay, so we see this wonderful elm tree, and we talked about also the emotional tank. How to fill it up, how to make some corrections. We talked about the magic ratio. Do you remember, Becky? What's the magic ratio?
Is it how many times we give our players positive feedback compared to criticizing them?
Exactly. And this is 5 to 1, right? So we can give 1 correction, and then we talk about 5 positive things that they are doing or performing, right? So we talked about that, and we talk about our toolkit. And this is we have a lot of tools that we can make. We can remind our our athletes to perform better, to perform in a positive way, to make more effort, to be enthusiastic about their training, and all these tools that we have. So in this time I'm gonna take the elm tree again, and I make this little drawing. I don't know if you can see this little drawing. Okay.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in a beautiful, cartolene, or I don't know. I don't remember the name of this board. Okay, the whiteboard. Okay. But anyway, okay, we have the beautiful elm tree, and I'm gonna take this with me to talk about something very important, and that is the honoring the game. I love the way we love the game, and the game is not only in life. It's not only in sports. It's a game in life. And when you realize this opportunity of growing, of honoring, it's not only the game itself, but you're honoring also your life. So I'm taking. What do you need, Kelly? What do you need for this tree, this elm tree, to be strong and to grow with all these leaves? What do you need?
It needs water.
Yeah, sure. Water. Becky, what else?
Sun.
Sun, of course. We do need sun, and some other fertilizer, some things to, I don't know, the substance to kill the little bugs. What is the name? The
Pesticides.
Exactly, the pesticide. Okay, do you need all these elements to make this beautiful elm tree grow, right? So if you can put it in the same position as a human being, what do you need for a human being to grow up strong? Do you know? So that's the positive attitude, the effort, the learning, and the mistakes, right? So, but there is something very important underneath the top, and that's the roots, right? What is the roots? Why are so important the roots? What do you think, Becky, is the roots so important for everybody? Why?
They get the water to help the tree grow from the ground.
Exactly, and if you have a very small roots for this big tree, what happens?
It'll fall.
Yes, definitely. What do you think, Ellie? What happens if these roots are not growing in a right position?
I think the tree will die.
Definitely, it will grow twisted, or it'll just die, or it won't have these beautiful leaves that this wonderful elm tree has, right? So, okay, let's see. What is the roots in our game, in honoring the game? What are these roots? The R root stands for. What do you think? It stands for rules. Okay. What are the rules? These rules. Which can you tell me where or what? Let me rethink the question.
Okay.
¿Cómo vamos a usarlas? Sí. Where can we find the roots? The rules. Where can we find the rules? Kelly, can you tell me?
Well, the coaches teach the rules to the athletes.
Okay, we have the game rules. Okay. What else? Becky, where else do we have the rules? The game.
In the rule book.
Excuse me, what?
In the rule book.
Okay, yes, we do have, but we have also the social rules, the code rules. Okay, we have this kind of even in the club, every club, every game, every sports has their own rules, right? Even though the dressing code, no? I remember. Do you remember when Agassi, this tennis player, wonderful tennis players, were very young? He was playing in Wimbledon. Do you remember what happened when he had showed to Wimbledon dressed in black? Well, in tennis, only in Wimbledon, you have to dress. The dress code is white, and can you believe this club? They didn't let him play the tournament. They said, no, you have to change in white. And he said, no, I'm gonna dress. I don't like to play in white. So what happened? He didn't obey the rules. So what happened? He didn't play the game. Yeah, and this is very important because there are some rules that we don't like to obey. We don't like them, but we have to play by the rules, even though it's only the code rule, the dress code. Okay. Now, what else is there? We have the O. The O is 2 O's. The first one, what do we need to obey these rules, to pay attention to these rules? What do we have to, who is important in this position? Who is the most important person who playing this role?
In obeying the opponent, is that what you mean?
No, the officials. We have.
Officials.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, I was.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. I wanted to say the officials. Then I said, oh yes, it was the officials. Okay. Well, anyways, okay. I'll start with the officials. Okay, officials are the. Thank you. Okay, officials are the people who help us to obey the rules. Okay, we need to even though we don't like them, even though we say this is not fair. What happens? The main idea is that these officials have the last word. They know better the rules than we do. Definitely, this is and we have to trust about this. Well, I'm talking about officials that in soccer, in tennis, and in basketball. They have to know the rules than the coaches, right? So I have this I remember this situation when in a soccer game, we had this parents, these coaches, 2 coaches in my team my coach was a woman, and she was giving directions to these girls very nicely and very polite. And then the other 2 coaches, there was two guys. These 2 guys, they were screaming all the time at the official, and he was like, wait, and he wanted to just stop this fighting. At the end, there was only almost at the end of the game, 5 minutes after the end of the game, these 2 guys, these 2 coaches, started screaming so loud to the official. They entered the court, and they started to scream. They were winning. By the way, they were winning, but I don't know what happened exactly. But they were just shouting at the official, and then he said, for the next time, if you shout to me, you're gonna be out of the court. We said at this moment I was started to the parents here by my side. They were like, oh my God, oh look at this guy. At the beginning they were like criticizing her coach, their kids' coach, but then they saw this situation with these 2 coaches, and then she started. At the end of the game, I politely introduced to these parents as a psychologist of the team psychology, and told them. And I said, "Did you see this what happened exactly?" "Oh yes, it was terrible." The parents were astonished. And I said, well, this is exactly what happens with their parents at home. Let's respect the officials. This is a very important message for the kids. Imagine my coaches is screaming and shouting and cursing to this official. Can you imagine the importance of the example? That's when, and the parents they just really made a good impression about this, about their coach. So that's why I think it's very important to be very polite with the officials. Okay, thank you. Now, what are the other? Do we have the rules? We have the O, the roots. I'm sorry, the O as the opponents. Okay, why is important the opponent? Why do you think is important to respect the opponent, Kelly? Can you tell me why it's important?
Because they could kick your butt.
Yes, and why do you think, Becky, is important to respect the opponents, and even though they kick your butt?
Maybe so they come back again to play because we can't play the game without the opponents.
Yes, we can't play exactly. So, but also there's something very important. You can learn from from your opponents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think you can learn from that? Can you share some experience when you learn from your opponent, Becky?
Sure. I think that you can learn good things and bad things, like what not to do from your opponents. I think I've seen that more. We used to play a team who really had a lot of girls that would kind of play dirty, and I would constantly remind our players that even though they're playing that way, it doesn't mean that we have to play that way. And eventually, the referees they would call against the opponent. So it was like a quick reinforcement of learning and what not to do.
Yes, definitely. It's something very important. You can learn from what you want to do and what you don't want to do, definitely. Okay, now we have the from the roots, we have the T, as in we have, what do you think it is, a T? Is a T like this? I'm going to take my T. What stands a T for? What do you think it stands, Becky?
Team.
Okay, yes, definitely. We have to respect our team, even though we are not agreed totally, because you don't have to be agreed with your team. You don't have to be all the time like, yeah, we're the best team. No, you just have to respect. First, if there's your respect, then there is another feelings, another emotions that you can put them together as a whole. And your team is very important to not to embarrass your team. Not to embarrass. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna miss this shot. No. It's not. We're not talking about this. This is a mistake that you have to learn. No, I'm not embarrass my team doing something that I'm not willing to do it. Right. So this is very important to put the team together and be. And if you have something to share. If you want to share something with your team, you can do it after. I mean, it's some positive criticism. You can do it after the game is over. So if there's of course, it's a possibility to you can do better if your team is doing something that you are not agree exactly, but you can call it after your after the game is over. Okay. So now the S, what stands the S? We talked about the rules, the opponents, the officials, the team, and what is the S stands for? Stands for
Yourself.
Yes, of course, yourself. It is important. We always respect if we honor the game, respecting the others and everything outside of me. What happens if I don't respect myself? If I don't respect what I do, of course it won't match, right? So it's very important. So the respect with yourself and to live like you do, like you like to play. One thing it happens in one of my team happens. There was a little girl. It was a 12-year-old girl. They were playing tennis match in a tournament. This girl, Anna, she was playing against Marian. This Marian girl from the other team started to Anna started to win, and she won the first set, and the second set she was 5-1. Marian started to, slapping her shoes at the moment she was serving. And in tennis, you have to be very quiet. It's a very quiet sport. So she started to serve, and Marian started, like, can you hear the noise? Mm-hmm. Starting to do this kind of sounds with her feet. So Anna started to get she lost focus. She started to lose. So Marian started to scale 1 5 2 5 3 5 4 5. In the 4 5, it was her turn of Marian's turn to serve. So what did Anna do? Can you believe Anna started to do the same thing that she was receiving? No, she started to do this exactly the same. This was something that, of course, Marian lose her control, lose her concentration. So she lost it. At the end, my girl won 6-4, the second set. And at the end, I called her and I said, well, how do you feel? Well, I won. Yes, but what did you do? I started to do what she was doing to me. Yes, but what it is, I didn't respect myself. Exactly. Well, after a long time, a very deep conversation, she just realized that she couldn't respect herself because she entered in the game of Marian, so she didn't honor her game. And then this situation is very important for her now because she's learning to control, she's learning to concentrate, and the most of all, she's not losing any more herself anymore. He's fair with her, with the opponent, and with everybody else. So thank you for listening today. Thank you for being patient with my beautiful English.
It's good. It's very good.
Sometimes I just get like freezed, but I really enjoy doing this. Studying this is very good for me, and I think it's given me a lot of tools to perform with my athletes. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you. Very nice job. You're more clear than some trainers we have that do this in English full time, so don't worry about it.
I'm tired. I was tired, Alex.
I know, it's hard.
Yeah.
No, I thought you did a very nice job. I really like the way that you mix in your own stories, and your tone of voice changes when you tell a story versus when you're presenting the regular principles part. And when you're telling a story, I get drawn in. Hold on. I get drawn into your story, and I can actually like feel for the player. So I think that's a neat ability to be able to pull people into your story. And I think you do a nice job at taking those. I would encourage you to have different examples besides just tennis. You know, have a couple stories. No, really. I mean, I think it's hard. Those of us that are focused on one sport, it's something. Sorry. It's hard to take the stories and translate them for another sport. I was always nervous because I didn't play the sport, so I was always afraid I was going to say something wrong. But and sometimes I would start a story and say, I wasn't a baseball player, but here's something that I heard about a player. So and sometimes just saying that simple. I didn't play baseball, but both of my brothers did, and I sat on the sidelines for a long time and watched. Something like that, just to bring in other examples. Or I've also done before. I did a workshop at rowing for crew, and I had to do it at the last minute. I didn't really have a chance to read up and study and learn the terminology. So I asked them, now, are there officials in crew? How do you challenge an official in crew? Now, you guys are in a boat with 8 people. How do you do that? How do you not respect your teammates when you're rowing in a boat together? So I pulled out of the audience when I didn't know examples, and it just helps a little bit. I thought you did a great job with reviewing. I think your review of each of the principles was very simple and very clear, and I thought you did a great job with that. I really liked the way that you did, what does a tree need to grow? I think that was a good analogy to say, well, it needs water, it needs sun, it needs fertilizer. Well, what do people need to grow? I would have liked you to go even further. You told us what people need to grow, but I think it'd be neat to ask the audience.
Okay, sure.
What does an athlete need to grow? And then, maybe you would pull out of the audience, well, they need support, they need love, they need nourishment, they need encouragement, they need positive feedback. I think that would be a really neat question to ask. There would be a good discussion. Or maybe even say, get in a group of 3 and list 10 things that a young athlete needs to grow. I think that would be a neat discussion question. I thought that was good. The one thing, and as I said, it's not an English, it could be an English-Spanish translation, but one of the things, and I think Becky did it too, and I just want to point this out. I didn't notice it as much when Becky did it, but one of the things that we always try to frame honoring the game principle is framing it as this is a standard that we're trying to reach. So it's something we're trying to strive for, honoring the rules, opponents, officials, teammates, and self. If we have honor for all of those areas, we're going to change the culture of the team, which is our ultimate goal. So sometimes when I hear, and we all do it, and I do it myself, but when we say, like, we have to respect officials, we have to respect opponents, we have to, and it makes it sound like a duty, like it's your job that you have to do this, rather than raise the standards of your team so that instead of saying you have to respect officials, saying a true positive culture in your team is where officials are respected 100% of the time. What would that look like if officials' calls were always respected? What would it look like if everyone on your team respected their opponents? What would it look like if everyone on your team had self-respect? So it just changes it, rather than us standing up there as trainers saying, this is what you have to do to be good. It changes it as, here's a standard we're setting for you. Here's the bar we're setting. Can you reach that with your team, and how are you going to get there? Does that make sense?
Yes. Definitely. It's great.
Just a little
it's a
different.
Great point of view. Okay. No,
yeah,
I
love it. I always try to tell trainers what the audience is expecting is a lecture. They're expecting us to get up there and say, you're doing this wrong. You're coaching wrong. Don't do this. Don't do that. So I try to be as far away from that as possible. I don't want to tell people this is what you shouldn't do or this is what you should do. I say, this is what the best coaches in the world are doing. They're honoring the game. Let me tell you how. And then see, can you do that? And how do we get our athletes there? And how can you teach your athletes to respect themselves? Is that something you can teach? Yeah, it is. How do you teach that? So that was just a comment that as I said, I noticed it. Yeah. Other than that, I like the Andre Agassi. So I didn't know that. I thought that was a good, quick story. That was interesting. And the screaming. I mean, people that don't know the tennis culture, I can't even imagine tennis people screaming, because my two daughters played tennis.
In soccer. This was
in soccer. Oh, okay.
I didn't mention her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said you probably did say soccer. I was thinking in tennis. I'm like, I can't imagine tennis fans screaming, because I was told by my kids I've got to be quiet during tennis matches because people don't scream.
No, this situation was in a soccer play where the girls, they were losing. My girls were losing, and the other team was winning, and these two coaches were inside the court, and it was a mess. It was really
All right. Becky, did you have any comments for Lorena?
I just thought that I really like that example too, the Andre Agassi example. And then you said something that I failed to mention, and it's a really good point. And I think this is when it's hardest, is that we have to it's good to respect the rules even when we don't understand why the rule is there. I thought that was a really good point, because they are there to keep us safe and to keep things fair, but we don't always understand why it's a rule. Like, why is it a rule that you can only wear white at Wimbledon? Who knows? And it doesn't affect the game, but that's the rule, So I think that was a really good point. And then I also liked your humor when you used your T. The T stands for a T. It doesn't stand for T. I thought that was good.
I do this sometimes, and it's because when I see the audience is not following me, I try to catch with a quick joke.
Something, yeah. And sometimes late at night in workshops, you need to give them a quick joke to wake everybody up.
Yeah, kind of.
No, thank you. I thought you did a very nice job. You knew the content well, and it was exciting. It was fun to listen to.
Thank you very much, and it's great to listen to you. What you are, the way you do it. It's really nice to